8:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Here is the news edited by Danushka Madhavela and read by Indrani Senanayake. The headlines. The World Bank extends full support to Sri Lanka. Lanka Sathosa has reduced the prices of two essential items, namely sugar and milk powder. New subcommittee, new agency to be appointed to implement Western Province Municipal Development Plan. Sri Lanka to seek $200 million World Bank loan for social security programs. In foreign news, Zelensky in UK for a surprise meeting with Sunak. And in sports news, Barcelona club president Joan Laporta says Barcelona is Lionel Messi's home. Executive Director of the World Bank, Mr. Parameshwara Iyer, says that he will give his full support to the program being carried out by the Sri Lankan government to get rid of the economic crisis. Mr. Iyer expressed these views at a meeting held today with the Minister of State for Finance, Mr. Shehan Semasinghe. He also discussed the welfare benefit program in Sri Lanka at length, praised the commitment of Sri Lanka. Mr. Iyer described the experience of welfare benefit programs in India and expressed his admiration for the new welfare process. Lanka Sathosa has reduced the prices of two essential items, namely sugar and milk powder. Meanwhile, a kilo of white sugar will be priced at 243 rupees and a 400-gram packet of milk powder will be reduced to 1,080 rupees. During a meeting held at the Presidential Secretariat last Sunday, President Ranil Wickremesinghe announced that a cabinet subcommittee would be appointed to implement the Suburban Jurong Plan for the development of the Western Province, and a new agency would be established for this purpose. The President stressed the need for comprehensive development in the Western Province through a formal city development plan, stating that informal development could become uncontrollable. The Western Province contributes about 50% of the country's economy, making its development crucial. This news comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation, and we continue with local news. The Cabinet of Ministers has green-lighted the approval to hold discussions with the World Bank for a loan of $200 million for social security programs in Sri Lanka. President Ranil Wickremesinghe made the proposal in his capacity as the Minister of Finance, Economic Stabilisation and National Policies. Among the policy actions Sri Lanka is supposed to take under the International Monetary Fund supported 48-month external fund facility, implementing a strong social protection network to protect the most vulnerable groups in society is at the forefront. To this end, the World Bank has agreed to facilitate a loan of $200 million to Sri Lanka to support the social security program. The Met Department issues a weather warning sent by it that it is dangerous to engage in activities in the sea areas off the coast extending from Kalpitia to Trincomalee via Mannar, Kankesantore and Mullaitivu, and in the sea areas off the coast extending from Galle to Potthiville via Hambantota. Therefore, naval and fishing communities are requested to be vigilant in this regard. Naval and fishing communities are also requested to be attentive to future forecasts issued by the Met Department in this regard. That ends the local segment of news.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
The main news story, the Hambantota International Port launched its duty-free complex with the opening of two duty-free shops within the port's premises. The complex is designed to grow the duty-free business catering to the vessels calling HIP, or Hambantota International Port. The first two operators to set up at HIP's duty-free complex are Royal Electronics and United Life, both organizations with over 30 years of experience in the duty-free trade. They offer a wide array of international duty-free goods ranging from imported liquor, confectionery, perfumes and other items.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
On to Watchlight. The Central Bank of Sri Lanka has received 30 complaints in the past 4 months about the prohibited pyramid scams that are mushrooming like a financial tsunami. Regarding the public complaints received, the Central Bank, the Criminal Investigation Department and the Sri Lanka Police will conduct formal investigations and strictly enforce the law and punish those involved. There are a number of financial crimes and illegal schemes, including investing money in pyramid schemes, that came to you in Watchlight. We now take a look at world news. First, the headlines. Zelensky in UK for surprise meeting with Sunak. Mexico dispatches discarded presidential jet to Tajikistan. World Health Organization advises, don't use sugar substitutes for weight loss. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky is visiting the UK to meet Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. In a tweet, he said he would meet his friend, Mr. Sunak, to hold substantive negotiations. The UK announced on Thursday that it would supply Ukraine with the long-range missiles it had requested to fight the Russian invasion. Mr. Zelensky had been meeting Western leaders in recent days, seeking to bolster support for Ukraine. At the meeting, Mr. Sunak said the pair would be discussing what more we can do to support Mr. Zelensky and Ukraine. The Ukrainian leader is the first foreign dignitary to meet Mr. Sunak at Chequers, the Prime Minister's official country residence. A luxury presidential plane, which Mexico had been trying to offload for more than 4 years, has finally arrived in its new home, Tajikistan. President Lopez Obrador made the sale of the Boeing 787 Dreamliner one of his campaign promises, calling it a symbol of previous government's excesses. But the specially outfitted plane proved hard to shift, and an attempt to raffle it off failed. It was finally sold to the Tajik government for $92 million. The jet took off from California, where it had been in storage, and arrived at the Tajik capital, Dushanbe, early on Monday. The plane was originally purchased in 2012 by the president, at the time Felipe Calderon, for $280 million. It was then used by Mr. Calderon's successor, Enrique Pena Nieto. Mr. Lopez Obrador vowed to never set foot in it. He has been using commercial flights since he took office. However, the sale of the plane was beset by problems. Don't use sugar substitutes if you are trying to lose weight, according to a new guideline from the World Health Organization. The global health body said in a systematic review of the available evidence that suggested that use of non-sugar sweeteners, or NSS, does not confer any long-term benefit in reducing body fat in adults or children. The review also indicated that there might be potential undesirable effects from the long-term use of sugar substitutes, such as an increased risk of type 2 diabetes and cardiovascular diseases. Replacing free sugars with NSS does not help with weight control in the long term. People need to consider other ways to reduce free sugars intake, such as consuming food with naturally occurring sugars like fruit or unsweetened food and beverages. Francesco Branco, WHO Director for Nutrition and Food Safety, said in a news release. NSS are not essential dietary factors and have no nutritional value. People should reduce the sweetness of the diet altogether, starting early in life, to improve their health. To end this bulletin of world news, the headlines again. Zelensky in UK for surprise meeting with Sunak. Mexico dispatches discarded presidential jet to Tajikistan. World Health Organization advises don't use sugar substitutes for weight loss. That ends this bulletin of world news.
Development News.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka says during the year up to May 12th, 2023, the Sri Lankan rupee appreciated against the US dollar by 15.8%. Given the cross-currency exchange rate movements, the Sri Lankan rupee appreciated against the Japanese yen by 17.5%. The pound sterling by 11.4%, the euro by 12.9%, and the Indian rupee by 14.8% during this period. That was development news. And now we take a look at sports news. Barcelona president Joan Laporta says the club is Messi's home and they look to re-sign the forward this summer. The Argentine's contract at Paris Saint-Germain expires in June, with reports linking him to Saudi Arabia. But in an interview with Spanish broadcaster TV3, Laporta said Barcelona can compete with anyone for the 35-year-old's signature. History backs us. The feelings are too strong. We have 400 million fans around the world too, he said. Messi left the Catalan Giants 2 years ago after 21 years at the club, but has struggled during his 2 seasons in France, with fans booing him after their 5-0 win over Ajaccio at the weekend. Laporta said there had been an affectionate conversation between the two, and he congratulated Messi on winning the World Cup in Qatar last year. That was sports news.
Go ekak thiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The company behind the websites Vice and Motherboard has filed for bankruptcy in the US and is said to be sold to a group of its lenders. Vice Media Group, which was valued at $5.7 billion in 2017, could be taken over for $225 million. The youth-focused digital publisher said it will continue to operate during the bankruptcy process. It added that it expects to emerge as a financially healthy and stronger company in 2 to 3 months. That was business news.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekak thiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු ගීන හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru account, NSB IAM, a plan for your dream.
Sri Lankan Airlines Group has made an operating profit amounting to 1.7 billion rupees in the year according to the audited financial statement and before the occurrence of exchange losses. During the recently completed fiscal year, the airline generated a passenger and cargo revenue of $994 million and an operating profit of $53 million. The operating profit at group level was $104 million. The group, however, incurred financing costs of $101 million, resulting in a profit of $3 million. These figures may vary slightly during the finalization of year-end accounts, but essentially the airline has broken even for the first time in over a decade.
Weather report.
And finally, we take a look at the weather report. Several spells of showers will occur in the western, Sabaragamuwa, central and northwestern provinces and in the Galle and Mathura districts. Fairly strong winds, about 30 to 40 kilometers per hour, can be expected at times over the northern, north central and eastern provinces. To end tonight's news broadcast, the headlines again. The World Bank extends full support to Sri Lanka. Lanka Satasa has reduced the prices of 2 essential items, namely sugar and milk powder. New Cabinet Subcommittee. New agency to be appointed to implement Western Province Municipal Development Plan. Sri Lanka to seek $200 million World Bank loan for social security programs. In foreign news, Zelensky in UK for surprise meeting with Sunak. In sports news, Barcelona club president Joan Laporta says Barcelona is Lionel Messi's home. That ends tonight's news broadcast.